Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Rafli Hafiz Sani from class 2C and my student's ID number is 19, 20, 30, and 12. This video is assigned for communicative English grammar, and in this video I will explain about fact, hypothesis, and neutrality. Now I will explain what's the difference between fact and hypothesis. We have considered the truth and falsehood of statements in terms of affirmation, denial, negation, and etc. Sorry. But there are many circumstances in which the issue of truth or falsehood is assumed rather than directly stated. Facts are objective statements like "it is raining," while a hypothesis is a proposed explanation of a fact like "it is probably raining because it is too warm for condensation to freeze in the snow." Okay, this is the example for it. I'm glad that Adrian has heard it. That's a fact. I wish that Adrian had heard it. That's a hypothesis. In sentence number 1, speaker assumed that the truth of the statements Adrian has heard it, while in this sentence number 2, the speaker assumes it's falsehood. Now we will call something assumed to be false hypothetical. Next, I will explain what those hypothetical meaning. A fact or factual meaning is usually expressed by a finite verb clause, as in the previous number 1 sentence example, or by an ing clause. For example, I'm troubled that she broke that glass, or I'm troubled at her breaking that glass. So a finite clause is a main clause or a subordinate clause that must have a verb to show tense. The verb can be in the present tense or past tense. The tense can be changed from the present tense to the past tense or past tense to the present tense, because the verb in the present tense or past tense is called a finite verb. The clause that contains a finite verb is called a finite clause. Next, hypothesis for hypothetical meaning is usually expressed by the past tense in dependent clause, as in the previous number 2 sentence example, and by would or would plus infinitive in main clause. These two constructions can be seen respectively in the conditional sub clause and in the main clause of hypothetical conditions. For example, if we had enough money, I would buy a phone today or tomorrow. Notice that the past tense for had and would has nothing to do with the past time, but the reference is to present or future time. Would in the verb of the main clause can be replaced by another past tense modal auxiliary. For example, if we had enough money, I could or I would be able to buy vinyl today. Past time, when combined with hypothesis, is expressed by the perfective construction have plus add participle. For example, if we had enough money, I would have bought a vinyl last year. Okay. Other constructions containing hypothetical clauses apart from conditional clauses. Hypothetical meaning may occur in a few other special constructions. The main ones are illustrated here. It's time you were in school, but you're not in school. He behaves as if he as if he became rich. Sorry, but you're not. But he doesn't reach at all. It's not as tough as he were commute. If you use was instead of were, it is informal. By the way, he is not commute. Just suppose someone had seen us, but they didn't see us. Okay. If only I hadn't listened to my friends, but I did listen. In that case, he would have walked the route. Then he would have walked the route. Or otherwise, he would have walked the route. Other ways of expressing hypothetical meaning, in addition to the past time, there are 3 less common ways of expressing hypothetical meaning in subclauses, such as the word subjunctive. For example, I'd play basketball with you if I were taller. The ordinary past tense was can replace were in informal style. Next, were to or was to if the sentence is informal, plus infinitive. For example, if it were to rain tomorrow, the match would be postponed. This construction expresses hypothetical future. Next, should plus infinitive. For example, if a serious crisis should arise, the government will take immediate action. See, construction B and C are also slightly formal or literary and suggest in tentative conditions. The last 2 constructions are in general limited to conditional clauses and constructions related to conditions like suppose he were to see us. Okay. Another type of hypothetical conditional clause has no subordinating conjunction if, but instead begins with an operator placed before the subject inversion. The 3 operators which occur in this construction are had, subjunctive were, and putative should. For example, had I known, I would have written before, if I had known. Were a serious crisis to arise, the government would have to act swiftly if a serious crisis were to arise. Should you change your mind, no one would blame you if you should change your mind. Okay, this explanation is the last one, so be prepared yourself because I will explain neutrality. In addition to fact and hypothesis, there is a third type situation in which the speaker assumes neither the truth nor the falsehood of a statement. We will call this situation as neutrality. The example such as, it's best for Anais to be patient. I want Andy to agree. If these sentences, we don't know whether Anais will be patient or not, and whether Andy will agree or not, then in this sense, the assumptions are neutral. Infinitive clauses often express neutrality and also WH clauses, which in this respect sometimes contrast with that clauses. For example, did you know that Andy has agreed? Andy has agreed. Do you know whether Andy has agreed? Please tell me. He told me that they had passed the exam. Or he told me whether he had passed the exam. Okay, next. Doubt. Doubt is another verb that can be followed by either a that clause or a WH clause. Not plus doubt expresses certainty. And so takes a that clause, for example, I doubt whether Seth will cooperate with us, or I don't doubt that Seth will cooperate with us. Okay, next is about putative should. I have already said that should expresses a tentative condition in if clauses. That is true not only for hypothetical conditions but for open conditions. For example, if you should hear the news, Mike, please let me know. In other dependent clauses, should is need neutrality to represent something as a neural idea rather than a fact. We call this use of should putative. Okay. Here are the different sentences if we put it between fact and idea. We started from the fact. The fact is that the game will be fixed, or we know that the game will be fixed. We jump into the idea. The idea is that the game should be fixed, or someone suggesting that the game should be fixed. Okay, that was all what I want to explain about fact, hypothesis, and neutrality. Thank you for watching until the end of this video. I hope you understand it very well. Thank you so much to Communicative English Grammar for bringing some interesting lesson to us. Very grateful for having you too. And I hope we can see each other sometimes. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and goodbye.